Hope you and your family are well. Stay at home. Now, today's lesson is the temporal bone. We have two temporal bones in our body, the right and the left. Where is the temporal bone? The temporal bone is placed at the lateral side of the skull. This is the outside of the skull, and this is the inside of the lateral wall of the skull, as well as it is placed at the base of the skull. Now, the temporal bone has four parts. This is the squamous part, this is the styloid process, this is the tympanic plate, this is the tympanic plate, and the other is petromastoid part. Among these four parts, the squamous and the tympanic plate originates from the membranous, and the rest are from cartilaginous. Now, for the purpose of description, we divide the petromastoid into mastoid and petrous separately. Now, after birth, the temporal bone has three parts, but by the end of first year, they united together to form a single temporal bone. Now, I shall describe you the parts one after another. The first of all is the squamous part. The squamous part, this is an anatomical position of the squamous part. It has an external surface, one internal surface, and convex upper border, and one antero-inferior border. And it has a process, the zygomatic process, which arises from the external surface, then proceeds forwards. The external surface, it is smooth, it is convex, and it forms the floor of the temporal fossa, and this area gives the origin of the muscle temporalis. Now, at its center, a groove, rather faint groove, proceeds upwards, and this groove is for the lodgement of the middle temporal artery. Now, if we look a few backwards and downwards, we saw a raised ridge, bony ridge, and is known as supramastoid crest. And if we look more downwards and backwards, we shall see the squamous part ends and the mastoid part starts. And here is a squamomastoid suture. We may or may not see the suture in the adult temporal bone. Now, this one is the external aquastic meatus. Just above the external aquastic meatus, there is a triangle. This is known as suprameatal triangle. In this suprameatal triangle, there is a spine known as suprameatal spine. Now, around 12 to 15 millimeter deep to this suprameatal triangle is the position of the mastoid antrum. In the newborn, it is very much close to the suprameatal triangle, and as the age advances, it becomes more and more deep. This is about the external surface, and on the supramastoid crest, there is the attachment of the fossa temporalis. Now we shall pass on to the inner surface. Look at the articulated bone. This is the inner surface of the squamous part of the temporal bone, in front of which this is the This area is the greater wing of the sphenoid, and behind it is the petrous part. And which part of the petrous part? The anterior surface of the petrous part. And at the junction of the inner surface of the squamous part and the anterior surface of the petrous part, there is a suture known as squamopetrous or petrosquamous suture. Look at the inside. This surface is concave and there are several indentations for the gyri of the temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex. Now, from this angle, there are two groups. One proceeds anteriorly and other proceeds superiorly. These groups for the lodgement of the anterior division and the posterior division of the middle meningeal artery. This is about the inner surface. Now, as we know that it has two surfaces. One, this is convex superior surface. It articulates with the parietal bone, and this is the antero-inferior surface. This is the antero-inferior surface, and it articulates with this bone, that is the greater wing of the sphenoid. Now, about the zygomatic process. This is the zygomatic process. From where it is attached? It attached from the lower part of the squamous part of the external surface of the lower part of the squamous part of the temporal bone. It then proceeds forwards and ultimately it articulates with the temporal process of the zygomatic bone, forming the zygomatic arch. This zygomatic process has a posterior part, this one posterior part, and this one is the anterior part. First of all, the posterior part. Look carefully. The posterior part has a concave upper surface, and through this concave upper surface, the temporal muscle passes. The temporal muscle passes and goes towards the mandible. And this is the lower surface. Multiple things we can see. Look carefully. The lower surface has two roots. This is the anterior root. This is the anterior root, and here there is a tubercle known as anterior tubercle. And this is the posterior root. So this is anterior root, this is posterior root. The posterior root has an upper border. If we trace the upper border of the posterior root behind, it goes or marches towards the supramastoid crest, and if we trace it anteriorly, it marches with the upper margin of the zygomatic process or zygomatic arch. Now, lower part of this posterior root turns inwards, forming a rudimentary tubercle known as supraglenoid tubercle. In human being, this tubercle is rudimentary, but among the mammals, it is very much prominent. Now, this posterior root and the anterior root converge here, and a tubercle is formed known as tubercle at the root of the zygoma, and this area gives the attachment of the lateral ligament of the temporomandibular joint. Now the anterior part. The anterior part has an upper border, a lower border, an external or lateral surface, an internal or the medial surface. At the upper border, two things are attached. One is the gallia aponeurotica and other is the temporal fossa. At the lower border, as well as from the inner or the medial surface, lower border and the inner and the medial surface, the masseter muscle takes its origin, and the lateral surface is subcutaneous. This is all about the squamous part.